everyone in lockdown land. As promised, this is the workshop we had arranged for Staffordshire Stitchers, and Cheadle U3A were halfway through completing. It's a equipment folder for storing bits and pieces, ideal if you go to any groups or you've got a holiday coming up. It can easily go into your suitcase. It's made from board, this one. This is made from mount board that they use when they're doing picture framing and things like that. Unfortunately, we can't go out and get that, so the only thing I had available was corrugated cardboard, and as we know, corrugated cardboard is a little on the bendy side. So thinking about it, what I've actually done is, because the folder has got an inner and an outer, you've got two layers of board. What I've done, and it works really well, is the outer I've done with the corrugation going up and down from top to bottom, and then the inner from side to side, and that's made it really sturdy. So that is a really good alternative to the mount board. Also a very good excuse if you haven't got a box to buy something online that'll come in a box. So I'll give you the sizes that you need for the board. I'll also put it at the top of the post so that there'll be a list of what you need. But you need two pieces for your outer, and that's two pieces that are 23.5 by 30.5 centimetres. And you need one piece for your outer spine, and that is 3 centimetres by 30.5 centimetres. So that's your outer and your spine. So you've got two pieces of that and the centre. Then for your inner, you need two pieces, 22 centimetres by 29 centimetres. So it's 22 by 29. So two pieces of those. Oh, I've already stuck this one down. And one piece for your inner spine that's 2.5 centimetres by 29 centimetres. So that's your pieces of board. You need about 1.5 metres of ribbon for your tie that's going to tie your folder together. And you need about, these are all ish measurements really, about 20 centimetres of elastic. These are Metler threads, but I think Gutermann, if you use Gutermann, I think they're similar size reels. So you'll probably get 4 Gutermann out of a 20 centimetre piece of elastic as well. And you need lots of double-sided tape, because what you're going to do, if I put it, there it is you're going to cover your pieces of board completely with double-sided tape. I haven't tried it with a spray adhesive. I think it would probably work. I wouldn't do it with PVA because that would make your fabric too wet. And I don't think I would either use the glue sticks, because I don't think that would be strong enough, because you have to fold your fabric over and it has to hold so that it doesn't go back, and I'm not sure, it definitely wouldn't hold enough to put the two pieces together. So that's the pieces that you need of board and all the extra little bits and pieces. Oh, you also need about 35 centimetres of thin ribbon if you're going to put on a scissor keeper. You might not want to put a scissor keeper on, you might want to put extra pockets. It's entirely up to you. You can put as many pockets, closed pockets, open pockets, or whatever you like. So if you want a scissor keeper, you need something to hold your scissors in with. What else? Oh, some snaps. I've used cam snaps to close my pockets. On my original one I had buttons, and before I made up the pocket I inserted some little loops to hold the buttons closed. So that way you could do, if you like doing buttonholes, you can do buttonholes. It's entirely up to you. This is your project. you can finish it as you like, but the cam snaps work really nicely. You're going to need a fat quarter for the outside, there, a fat quarter for your insides, and if you're going to coordinate it all and you've got another separate fabric for the pockets and everything inside, or you could use scraps, you could easily scrap it, and there's going to be some of your fat quarter left over for bits and pieces as well, so you can use up bits and pieces. Or if you're going to use coordinating fabrics, you would need a fat quarter for the outside, a fat quarter for the inside, and a coordinating fat quarter for your pockets and all the bits and pieces. So how to explain to do the outside one. We've got your folder is what you start off with. You've got your fat quarter and your 3 outer pieces of card. So say that's your fat quarter. What you're going to do is you're going to stick the 2 largest pieces, the 2 outers, and the largest spine. You're going to stick them all onto your fat quarter, 1 piece of fabric. You're not going to split the fabric like you are for the inner. So you've got the front, the back, and the spine. But it's really important that you leave a gap. 2 or 3 millimeters is enough. You need the gap so that you can actually fold it. Because if you put your boards too close together, it's going to really stretch your fabric as it's closing, and you need to have that bit where you can fold. So that's why you leave that little bit in the center. So I've done that here. You've got all your 1 piece of fabric with all 3 pieces of board stuck to it. Through the center, you're going to actually put your inner boards on either side, but you want to disguise all the bits that are going through the center. And although you're going to put a spine, you want to put a panel through the middle that extends into where you're going to actually put the inner board. So that disguises all the back of the fabric and the folds and everything. So that's just a piece of fabric stuck over the top to hide everything. And then your inner spine with your lining fabric is stuck on top of the outer spine. But shall I say it's a mistake? It was a mistake. This ribbon, which is your ribbon for closure, should have gone under that spine. I made the mistake and didn't put it under, and I suppose I could have prized this off, but it wouldn't have done the fabric very much good. So what I did was I put it on, and then I've just added a little bit of the ribbon the right way up so that you can actually see the pretty ribbon. So that's your outer. Now for your pin cushion, you want an 8.5 centimetre square. You're going to take in 1/4 inch around, or no, not you're going to take it in, you're going to fold 1/4 inch all the way round, and you're going to sew along 3 sides. Then put in a little bit of wadding and sew along the bottom. That's your pin cushion. Obviously all of this is going to be done before you assemble, because you really need to be able to just stick it down, because you're not going to be able to access it afterwards. That's why it's really important, or I will say something that's quite important, is make sure that you finish off all the ends of your threads, because as I said, you can't access it afterwards. So if you've got a pocket where it starts coming away, you're going to have an issue. You're not going to be able to get back in there to sew it back down. Your elastic, that's just sewn either end, and then you divide it up in the center and in the center of the 2 halves. So that's for your threads. The pockets, they're all done the same, but how do I tell you how to get your sizes. I thought the best way was to give you these sizes and then show you how I got the shapes. So for the small pocket, you've got two 12cm edges, and then the bottom is 9cm. So you've got 12 by 9. The large pockets, you've got two 13cm, and along the bottom is 19cm. So if you draw those 3 lines, you have that. Now the way that I got the shape was I took a mug, took it up to the top, and then drew around the top, which gave me that shape. So that was for the small pocket, and the large pocket was a side plate. So you just take the plate to where your ends are and then draw around the plate. That will give you that nice shape. So this is cut on a fold. Unless you're using up scraps and you haven't got a big enough piece, you can always put a different fabric on the inside of the pocket to the outside, but for that you would then add a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the bottom. So you put an extra 1/4 inch there and an extra 1/4 inch there, so that you could do that seam first before you assembled the pocket. But if you've done it on the fold, you just cut it as is. So here's my pocket piece. We've got that there, and I've sewn about 1 inch up there, left a gap and sewn all the way around the outside 1/4 inch seam. Then I've cut off the corners and snipped into the top. I always like to take a notch out rather than just snipping, because when you're turning it through it can bunch a bit, and we're actually going to top stitch this, so the least bulk the better. So then you're going to turn it through. Here's one I made earlier. So once you've turned it through, you're going to top stitch around the top and holding the 2 ends of the place that you've turned through. It doesn't have to be sewn, because you're actually going to fold up the pocket. Well, I need to do it that way, don't I? Fold up the pocket, and then you're going to sew up both sides. So you're actually going to close up that hole that you've left for your turning in the seam where you do that. So that you end up with your little pocket. So you've got your seams done and you've got the top stitched. So that's going to fold over. And all you do to sew that on is, let me just take out the scissors a minute because they're a bit heavy. That's better. I'll take these out as well. All you're going to do is place the pocket where you want it and sew directly from one corner to the other. When I say corner, I mean where the little join is. So you're going to do a row of stitching, finishing off well at both ends again, off the back, go into the back and knot off your ends so that you don't get the pockets fall off. And then it's just folded over, so you've got a pocket and a flap. So it's the same for that one as the large ones. So we've got the top stitch top and just the row of stitching, oh, I'm all fingers and thumbs, the row of stitching along the top there. So before you actually start putting on the pockets and the pincushion and everything, it's a good idea, if you've got a friction pen or one of the pens or some tailor's chalk, one of the pens that disappears, the quilting pens, to actually draw around your piece of board that's going to be your inner, and then you can place out all your little bits and pieces where you want them. Your open pocket is 13, I'm doing it on the flat, is 13 by 22. You turn over ½ inch at the top, and then you sew down the 3 sides and make any panels that you want where you're going to put pens, etc. So you can divide off that pocket. Now the scissor keeper is a little bit more difficult to explain, really. Somewhere I have the little pattern that I made. Oh, I can't find it, so I'll redraw it. Right. On a fold, this is specific to your own scissors. Obviously, your scissors, you could be taking those ones with you. You could be taking those ones with you. So depending on that, you need to actually make yours to your size of your scissors. So half of your pair of scissors is on the join. So if I do it in a black pen, you'll be able to see it. So there's the bottom of my scissors, and all this doesn't go in, so we're going to go to here, just where the actual part where your fingers go in, we're going to go to there. So we'll have a nice size so that you can slip them in. But obviously you need the scissor keeper to go longer than your scissors, so I would take it down to the bottom to give it a nice shape. So I'm going to take, I've got to put it down here to actually draw it, so if I go down there, I'm going to take my scissor keeper up to there, and then, because a design feature I suppose you would call it, because I'm going to have it folded over rather than just straight across, I folded it down. Because of that, I'm going to take another shape up there. So that's going to be the shape that will fit my scissors. But not forgetting that you have to add 1/4 inch for your seams. So add your 1/4 inch and then cut it out, and you're going to assemble it the same as you do the pockets, with the 2 pieces together, right sides together, leaving the piece for you to turn it through. Then you're going to turn it all the way through. You don't have to join that again, because you're actually going to sew that to your inner fabric. So you sew all the way around the bottom, fold over the top. I've put a little handmade charm on there so that your scissors go in. Then you're going to, at the center where your scissors are, you bring through the ribbon. You just backwards and forwards a couple of times on a piece of ribbon, and then you can sew that there so that it actually keeps your scissors in place. So that's your scissor keeper. I hope that's explained it okay. It's quite difficult without being able to give you a pattern. And the trouble is, when you know how to do it yourself, it's quite difficult to think how to explain it. So anyway, that's that done. We've done the pockets. So now we've also put on the ribbons to join it. So now we need to add our pieces to the board. So I've already done that one, and I've also added more tape on the back, because this is the bit that's actually going to stick to the outside part. So I've got my board size that I've done there, and I've added everything I want. So now chat amongst yourselves while I do this. I'm taking off the double-sided tape because this is where we're joining the last bit of the inner. I think if you were using an adhesive spray, this would be okay, this actual part, but I'm not sure how you would do the bit where you actually turn the fabric over the other side, because I think it would go everywhere. But not being somebody who's used very much adhesive spray. Leave that for the cleaner. Right, I'm going to stand up to do this because I'm going to put that down. It's going to stick because I do have some on the other side, but what I'm going to do is I've got my two corners and I'm going to feel for my two corners. There we go. I'm going to start at the top and then I'm going to pull down the center, making sure that I'm not pulling the fabric out of shape, especially because I've got text on here that's in lines, so I don't want to pull it out of shape. So that's one side, and if you find that you've got some bubbles, you can then go back. It's a bit like, you know, the contact adhesive stuff that you used to put on books. It's a bit like that. So I've got a little bit of a bubble there, so I'll put that in. Ooh. There we go. Then when we get the other side, to get a nice corner, I'm going to bring that corner over on all four sides. So over, that one over. There we go. So now I'll take off the other double-sided tape, but I am going to have to put some double-sided tape on the actual corners because we've actually got fabric here that's going to be quite bulky, so we need to put a little extra bit of tape, which I've got here, on each of the corners. So we'll put that, there we go, because we're going to fold those over and there's no tape left there because we've taken in the corners, the points. There we go. So I'll take those off now, and then that will give us extra adhesive on the corner when we turn in. I wouldn't like to say it's going to be a perfect mitre, but it's close. So we're going to fold that over and stick down. Fold it over. I could have cut a little bit off there because there's quite a lot of fabric there, but that doesn't matter. It's all going to go inside. And then we turn that. I would normally do this on the flat. So we got that there, that there. And then that one round there. I'll just turn on my iron because I've done this with a friction pen and now I need to apply the heat to get rid of my marks. I've got them on the top and the bottom. So we're nearly there. I've got my outside and my inside. This one I've put extra tape round. I'll do it on this one here as well. But you take off, I've already done this with the heat pen. I've got rid of the biro mark. So now I'm going to take off the double-sided tape. Ah, there we go. Why does it take so long? There we go. So this is my, we'll have this as my right hand page. So what I'm going to do is just add this. Can I do this up here? Can you see? Got to eye it up with what's already there. There we go, and we'll join that one. So that's that one done. And I'll just add some more double-sided tape to this one. Make sure that the corners are tidy. You want to make sure that you put more double-sided tape over the fabric that you've turned over, because although it probably would stick just with this one, it gives it a little bit more adhesion. There we go, and then before I put that on, I'll just get the iron and take off the friction pen markings. Marvellous pens, aren't they? I think someone did say that the friction pens actually, the lines come back again when it's really cold, but I don't intend to be sewing in those temperatures. So that's one side done. And then making sure it's up the right way, and then I'm going to line up the level with the other side. Oh, it helps to take the backing off the double-sided tape. It will stick then. Silly woman. Getting carried away. Oh, let's try the other end. It was all going so good. I'd like to say this is take one, but it's not. Shall I tell a joke? I don't know any. There we go, one more. There we go, and we'll try it out. Keep my ribbon out of the way. Not only had I not taken off this, I also hadn't checked my text. You know, I was saying about checking with your directional fabric. I hadn't checked when I put the first one on that my writing was in the same direction. So I'm so glad I noticed that. Now this one I'm going to have to tear or cut because of the ribbon. Well, this bit seems to be taking as long as all the rest. Nearly there. bits are just there to help keep down the pieces that had already been put on to the outer piece. Right, so when you have a directional fabric, make sure it's all going in the same direction, which is that way. I'm standing up again and placing that on there, and then this one, placing that on there. So there we have it. I'll press that down a bit better, but I need to do it on the flat and I don't have an awful lot of room here. So there we go. You have your folder with your scissor keeper. And your open pocket and your closed pockets. So thank you very much. I enjoyed that. So just keep calm and carry on sewing. Okay peeps, bye bye.